Hello and welcome to the Old Lumens channel. Today I have, I'm going to do a little review and a comparison of the Thorfire KL02, and it's a keychain flashlight. Uses a 16340 lithium ion battery. I have a new one of the first generation of these KL02s, and I just got a new one of the second generation. Now, there were some problems with the KL02s. These are a twisty light. You twist it all the way down to turn it on and twist it back out a little bit to turn it off. Okay, so they're a twisty on off. And there were some issues with these KL02s that after a short period of time, they would become where when you went to turn them on, they just sort of flicker. Or if you turned them off, not turning them on all the way, but they would flicker. When you turned them off, they'd flicker. And there were some issues with that going on way back from the beginning of this first generation. The second generation supposedly has stopped that from happening, but we'll see. We're gonna do a little overview of both of them. Basically, they come in similar packaging, a little cardboard box with a little padded sleeve that the light comes in. Then you have a little hanging clip buckle right here, and you have this little piece of foam. And I'll explain where that foam goes. Same thing with the new one. You have the same components, but the foam is about twice as thick. Okay. The manuals are the same. The manual on the new one is smaller, but it's basically the same information. Nothing different than the old manual. Okay. But we'll talk a little bit about the operation of this light. As I say, this is a twisty. Okay, and you can see in here, this is the old one. The old one has a spring down inside at the front end that is soldered onto the circuit board. And the new one, the second generation, has just a brass slug soldered down in there. Okay, instead of a spring. The first generation has this, what you saw is this foam piece down here in the back, and basically what they're doing is they're trying to keep, see, just so you understand, you're making contact on the negative side of this, and you can see that your threads are not anodized on either side, so you're always making contact all the time, right? Well, no, that's what the foam is for. The foam keeps the battery from hitting against the contact in the center down there. That's the idea. And then when you screw down in, you compress the foam and you make contact and the light turns on. Well, I thought things were going to be different in the new generation, and really what we've done now is we have, instead of a spring, we have a solid brass plug, and we have a thicker piece of foam. Okay. I'll go into a little bit of an explanation about what this is going to happen with this, but anyhow, suffice to say it, I had some discussions with these guys about what needs to be done, but hey, I think they tried to do it to where it would still stay in the same price line. But I think there's still, it's still going to have issues, and I think it probably would have been better to do something different and sell it for a couple dollars more myself. But anyways, this light is just an on-off, so I'm going to put a battery in the old one here, and I'm going to screw it together. All right, and let's see if we can get some light on. There we go. Okay, and I'm not even all the way down tight, and you'll see how far I have to twist to get it to shut off, about a couple turns. There I am, I'm down all the way tight right now. I turned the end cap, tail cap all the way in. That's your one mode, okay? And then it's taken about 2 turns to turn it off all the way. All right. Again, as I say, it's just a single mode light. You have the battery and a contact plate with a little resistor in it and the LED, and that's it. I mean, there's no modes or anything like that. Okay, very simple design. It's just for a keychain light. It's just for, plenty to be able to see, like, put your keys into the car or get into the front door, that kind of thing. Estimated at 55 lumens. That's plenty of light. It doesn't have to be several modes just for a keychain light. That's what it's designed for. Okay. The problem with the flickering was that what would happen is that after a while the foam wears away in here and gets pressed down enough that, of course, it stays compressed, and then you can get some flickering in it. Even though you've turned it off, it'll turn back on and flicker on and off. Now this is brand new. It's even still the first generation, but it's brand new. And that was really the biggest deal about this light. Okay. Now, hence they started putting in the second piece of foam, so you had a replacement, because if you use it on and off like on a daily basis, you're probably going to need this in a short period of time. So, like I say, with the new one, what they've done is they've taken the spring away, which means you don't have the spring tension pushing against that foam anymore. Okay, you don't have the spring tension pushing against the tail cap anymore. All right, but the only thing that I see is compression means you don't have any compression, and if your battery doesn't fit perfectly, you may still have a problem. Let's see what happens. We've got a battery in here, and I'll just go ahead and screw it together, and we'll see what we get for this. There we go. Okay, now I have not turned this all the way down. You notice now, if you see right here at the seam, the battery is preventing the tail cap from tightening all the way. And if you were to try to tighten all the way, you're going to damage your battery. That's what happens when you don't have a spring in the system. You basically, the problem is that there's nothing to take up any slack at all, and your battery can get damaged. The tail cap, not the tail cap, but the negative end of this battery, some of them are tougher than others. Some of the really weak ones, it's going to push that in the first time you turn it down. The first time somebody beats down on that and really snugs it down, they're going to ruin that battery, It'll only ever be able to be used for this light, probably, because it'll push that negative contact down in. All right, that's the bad part about doing this. What these guys wanted to do was they wanted to ensure that you would no longer have any of the flickering. So they did this because, okay, that's a complete contact with no spring action, and a double thickness on the foam insert makes it supposedly last longer, okay? And supposedly it will take longer before it compresses lower than the point of the actual contact in the center. Once the foam is as lower than the contact in the center, of course, you can still have a little bit of flickering. So this was the option that Thorfire took, and okay, it does work. I can't tell you over time how much of a difference you're going to have versus the first generation. My consideration is that you're going to damage your battery. Somebody's going to press really hard when they tighten that tail cap and go, oh look, that's not down all the way yet. They're going to tighten that really hard, and they're going to mess up the battery. Okay, that's my opinion of that. So What they did actually, it probably will improve the flickering, but it may cause another problem. It's one of those things, you know. They tried to make an adjustment to where the light was still in the price range, because what I told them was basically make sure this is anodized completely. Leave the anodizing on these threads. Leave the anodizing in here. Okay, leave that all totally anodized, and only remove the anodizing right here at the edge, right here at this edge, and then remove the anodizing right here at this edge. Like any other normal twisty light will make contact when the body connects to the tail cap right here at the back edge. Even mag lights work that way, okay? That is a complete contact every time, all right? Then you don't need the foam in the back end of this thing at all. You don't have to have that foam pad at all. All you need is just have the spring. That's it. You got the spring in there, and you have anodized all the way, and you remove the anodizing here and remove the anodizing right there on that edge so that the two edges touch. And when when you make contact that way, you make a perfect contact that way. And when you break contact, you don't have to twist two turns. All you got to do is just twist that far, and you're off. On, off, on, off. Very simple. That's the way a twisty should work. But I think that's probably more. It may be more expensive for them to go ahead and do this. I don't know. Anodize everything, then come back and just clean this off and clean that off. I don't know if it'd be any more. I bet it would be probably about the same. That way they wouldn't need the foam in there, and they could put the spring back on so that you have enough compression with your batteries, different batteries, that you won't damage your battery. Okay, that's why you got to have a spring, so that you can compress for the differences in lengths of battery, and so that the battery end cap or the battery positive or negative terminals don't get damaged. That's the idea of a spring. Okay. Anyways, that's the difference between version 1 and version 2. Version 2 spring loaded with the foam to break contact. Version 1 no spring, positive, turns all the way down tight until the battery is jammed together against the two ends, and a thicker foam. Again, like I say, it's a way to make a change, and it probably was a lot less costly for them because they didn't have to redo any of their bodies that they already had, any of the stock they already had, and probably they got a ton of those things, and that was a simple way to do it. Okay, but in the long run, to me, once they get rid of their stock or get low on their stock, they need to go to a different generation and do what I described to make a better light. I really, the last thing I want to say is I really like these lights a lot. I like these little 16340 lights, and I like this Thorfire style. I like the fact that, the 55 lumens, that's plenty for what I want. I just want a keychain light. They're not heavy, and the plastic cover on there is pretty tough, pretty well made. It's not a super thin one. It's not going to break as easily. Overall, it's just a simple little light, and it's great. But if they just wanted to take it a step farther, I'd still pay $1 or $2 more, and I bet you wouldn't even have to pay any more, because it would be just about the same expense to do it the way I discussed as to do it the way they're doing it right now. Anyways, I appreciate you watching the Old Loomis channel. Thank you.